KCAA.
No stopping us now. I've got a young man in the studio named Prince. I thought he was related to the family that was going to help audition me into some great singing contract, so I did a little practicing. Yeah, I'm not going to blow you guys up with it. You're used to it by now. But you know, one of these days, you guys may actually have to pay to hear this voice. I'm not charging you now, but who knows? My mother's prayers may someday actually get answered to the positive. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen, here on the case for truth and justice with the right information to help improve the situation. We have a situation. The situation seems to be always the same. You know, Mama loves me more than she loves you. Daddy we cannot seem to understand that though we may regard him from 1,000 different angles, and we all claim that there's only one God, and since there's only one God and we all describe him so differently, we must be able to understand that some of us might be looking at his toe, some may be looking at his elbow, some may be looking at his forehead, but none of us can see all of God at the same time. No individual is that perfect. And I don't think God is weak enough to need you or me to do his bidding in order for him to continue to be God. This is the Think Factory. Why can't we just get along? If you're a mother or a father, you know it's your job to make each child feel that they are the most loved thing in the world, but it's also your job to make them understand that they are in the world with others, that we have intersections, that we have to get along, that we have an obligation to the greatness of God who's provided us with everything. And anyway, Mama doesn't love me more than she loves you, and she doesn't love you more than she loves me, nor does God. We have the opportunity, we have the ability to choose to do the things that would make our fellow man love us, appreciate us. And we find that the more we give, the more we seem to receive. As I talk to the happiest people in the world, they tend to be people who spend a lot of time volunteering, giving to others, providing to others. They are people who sometimes spend their life in the misery of others, trying to comfort those others. It's a choice, folks. I'm blessed today, as you are, to have our guest, Assembly Member Eloise Gomez Reyes, the Majority Leader Emeritus. Their loss, our gain. She's got more time to fool with us now. Many issues in front of her. The big elephant in the room for all of us is the situation in Palestine. Or is it the earthquake in Afghanistan? Or is it the war in Ukraine? Or is it the battle against good and evil across the planet? Or is it the battle against appreciating the sunshine or fearing the darkness? I don't know. But Eloise, I'm going to ask you about Israel, the terrorist attack that we are discussing at this point. Whether you're obligated to make a statement. You've done it. Let's get that going.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, by the way, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, feeling blessed.
Good.
And more blessed as I'm listening to your message.
Oh, good.
I, along with so many of my colleagues and so many leaders, watched the terror that was perpetrated by Hamas, destroying families, creating yet another group of refugees that had left death and destruction in its wake. And like many others, I condemned the actions in the strongest way possible, saying that there was never an excuse for this type of violence. And I think that we all have an obligation to pray for everyone impacted and to pray for peace, peace that was desperately needed in that region. Well, then soon thereafter, as we know, Wallace, there was a declaration of war. We're not judging whether it's correct or incorrect. We're saying there was a declaration of war. And I'll tell you, when I saw the photos, the images that were shown on the ground in Gaza, they were horrifying. It was clear that would be civilians, especially the innocent children, on both sides, for Israel and also for our Palestinian civilians, especially the innocent children who would be most impacted by that declaration of war. My heart breaks for the innocent in Israel impacted by the terrorist attacks by Hamas, and the overwhelming number of innocent Palestinians that are now dealing with the latest deadly chapter of a decades-long conflict. May God have mercy on us all. But one thing for sure is we have to continue to pray for peace. War is not the answer, in my humble opinion. We have got to pray for peace, and it's got to bring a whole lot of our leaders worldwide together to say that that is their aim, to find peace, as opposed to finding a way to disseminate any community.
The only thing that I disagree with that you said is that you have a humble opinion. You and your parents and all of those folks who love you closely at the nuclear level may sometimes humble you because they know you real close and they remember you as a little girl who liked ice cream. But those of us who voted for you are not voting for you to be humble. We are not voting for you to at any point feel that, well, what I say doesn't really matter, because it does. And I say that not because of anything that you have done or not done, but because of others who claim to be in the same circle with you here and across the nation seem to feel that whatever they say only matters if the third or fourth time somebody questions them about it. If they still feel okay, then it's okay about it. They have to understand that lives are influenced by what you say. Even what I say here on the radio, I can't just be in my backyard eating barbecue, drinking beer as I'm sitting on the radio. So though some people say it sounds like it. With that responsibility, with that acknowledgement of the fact that we on the planet have to get along, should get along, but we have these political differences. We have the one thing that seems to be common in almost all of the political differences and wars is the fact that the civilians, the innocent, seem to be the ones that are really the most affected. I don't know how we can change that, except like you say, we're gonna pray about it, and maybe we'll be able to have some kind of suggestions that people who are real leaders, who are statesmen, who are not using politics to position themselves for the next coming. And as I make my judgments, I classify you as that group of people who are statesmen, who care about who you represent. And we're going to take a short break, and we'll come back, and we're going to prove some of that by talking to you about some of these issues that are confronting us. Reparations is there. California's made a big step in moving in that direction. California's also made a big step in moving in the directions of making a commitment for zero emissions from our automobiles. That could be a very costly but important aspect of what to do. And then we are in California leading, I think, the nation in our fight against hate and hate crimes. So we'll talk about those things a little bit and some other things that may come up as we go along. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen, on the case for truth and justice with the right information and sometimes the right guest to help make the world a better place. We'll be right back.
Join the Riverside County Black Chamber of Commerce. Enjoy the benefits of membership designed to support and accelerate your business. Make valuable contacts with other professionals, expand your resources and your customers. Update your learning experience via the Chamber's low and no-cost seminars and workshops. Improve your social media impact. The Chamber is dedicated to supporting your unique business needs. Take your first steps to the next level. Join the Riverside County Black Chamber of Commerce. Call 951-823-0175. That's 951-823-0175. I'm Peppy Jackson, the president of the Riverside County Black Chamber of Commerce. You have my personal invitation.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
Louisiana Fried Chicken and Seafood Restaurant specializes in seafood and southern cooking. If you're in the mood for seafood, their most popular options include crab cakes, fresh fish, oysters, shrimp, and po' boy sandwiches. If you want to savor some delicious southern food, the menu features a variety of flavored favorites, offering jambalaya, slow-cooked gumbo with rice, a hearty oxtail dish with rice and gravy. They also feature crispy fried chicken, greens, mac and cheese, and more. Plus, there's a banana pudding and other desserts available if you want to top off your meal with something sweet. Rock's Louisiana Fried Chicken and Seafood, 909-275-3360, 16951 Foothill Boulevard, Suite B in Fontana. That's Rock's Louisiana Fried Chicken and Seafood. Hey, they're on Route 66. Telling you, you're going to... You know, I've been giving away his wings for free there. I'm not going to do it today. You should have been listening last week. So listen next week, and maybe I will continue the big giveaway at Rock's Louisiana Fried Chicken and Seafood. Give them a call, 275-3360. That's in the 909. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen, and I just made myself a little hungry. But I'm always hungry, not just for food. I'm always hungry for information. And today we have the opportunity to get some information from, some people call her the queen of the empire. We are the empire, and she's certainly the queen. I mean, she's got a young man working for her that's a prince. So what can I say about all of that?
I love it. I love it.
Eloise, we're talking about, and I'm sorry to get so familiar with you like that. Assembly member.
We're friends.
Yeah, we are, but we got to keep this protocol. I don't want people thinking that you're not, or that you're overly accessible, because I have people complain not about you only, but others that say, well, I can't ever get in touch. And I said, well, what are you trying? I'm trying to call and talk to so-and-so. I want to talk to James Ramos. I want to talk to Eloise. I want them to answer the phone and talk. I said, well, wait a minute. I'm paying taxes. I don't have time for them to stop and talk to you just because you want to talk to them. Let's go through the process and procedure. You know, we have to do that. She's got 900 people want to talk to her every 5 minutes. How are we going to do that if we don't have it in order? So I say all that just to sometimes forgive myself out loud for being as impatient as I am sometimes. Where are they? I want to talk to them. Eloise, there I did it again. Reparations. Here in the state of California, we have a special reparations committee that's made recommendations to the legislature, and the legislature is now making some recommendations to come back with some laws. And how do you regard reparations? Reparations in general and reparations in specific for California descendants of slaves?
Thanks for the question. I think that the greatest leader in our House and the Assembly was then Assembly Member Dr. Shirley Weber, who introduced the legislation, AB 3121. Initially, it was to provide reparations, but because of the pushback, she made it a study. And some people were upset. They said, why are you going to study this? We already know that the descendants of slaves are owed money. But she says, no, let's come up with the data. Let's put a task force together that's going to give us the information we need so that we're not just saying it should be approximately. We have a task force that's going to study this and tell us exactly what we need to do. So AB 3121 is what established the initial task force to study this development of reparations, this proposal for descendants of slaves. On June 29th, the Reparations Task Force released its historic report to great fanfare. We all were anticipating, and it was very good to finally get that. My friend, my colleague, Assemblymember Reggie Jones Sawyer, is one of the members of the task force. He worked tirelessly on that, on the issue, and had lots of, there were lots of naysayers when he would talk about it, but he was strong on what he was trying to do. He knew what his task was, and he absolutely did, and I applaud him for that. Since that, AB 490 was introduced by Senator Bradford. This is going to establish the American Freedman Affair Agency, and that's going to implement the recommendations of this reparations task force. Senator Bradford has expressed that this was introduced to discuss in the coming legislative year exactly what the next steps are. Something else that we're anticipating is from that report from the task force, there are a number of legislative ideas that have been proposed or that have been suggested. So a number of our colleagues will be introducing that legislation, which is the next step. So that each of those areas is then going to be discussed in detail with all of us voting on them. As a general concept, I am for reparations. If you've taken something away from someone illegally, unethically, they need to be repaid. And that was the whole purpose of this. Dr. Shirley Weber, now our Secretary of State, was there for the unveiling. This was very important to her. It's very important to many of my colleagues, especially those who are descendants of slaves.
Well, I hope that your attitude spreads like the fever and the cold as you sit in those assembly chambers. Everybody doesn't feel that way, and until we truly sit and understand and work with each other, I don't expect everyone will. Fortunately, I don't guess we need everyone to.
We don't.
No.
We need 41 votes.
Okay, very good.
In the Assembly and 21 in the Senate.
And, and that brings to mind the fact that as we look at the policy and the way we make policy, the majority generally is supposed to be in charge. And I agree with that most of the time, except I go back to the time of enslavement, and the majority wanted enslavement. So we have to kind of parse that concept a little bit more with, like you say, what's ethical, not necessarily what's legal, but what's ethical and what's moral. I appreciate that part. I'm being signaled that it is time for a second break here. We're going to take that break. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. I think you're a little smarter now than you were 10 minutes ago. And it wasn't because of anything I said. We'll be right back. See if we can continue the education, continue the absorption of good news in the face of this mad pie that we're living in. We'll be right back.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
Talk back. I'm Wallace Allen. I want to remind you that Rock's Louisiana Fried Chicken and Seafood Restaurant specializes in seafood and southern cooking. If you're in the mood for seafood, their most popular options include crab cakes, fresh fish, oysters, shrimp, and po' boy sandwiches. If you want to savor some delicious southern food, the menu features a variety of flavorful favorites, offering jambalaya, slow-cooked gumbo with rice, a hearty oxtail dish with rice and gravy. They also feature crispy fried chicken, greens, mac and cheese, and more than that, because they have banana pudding. And you can use that to top off your meal anytime you want. Go to Rock's Louisiana Fried Chicken and Seafood. Their phone number, 909-275-3360. That's 275-3360 in the 909, right there on Route 66, 16951 Foothill Boulevard. That's 16951 Foothill Boulevard, right at the corner of Cherry and Foothill. That's Route 66. Man, you guys got to come out here and enjoy some of the stuff we've got going on Route 66. I don't mean wait for some big festival. Just come out here and enjoy some of the businesses that are still echoing the greatness of the times of the past, and looking forward to some electric vehicles running up and down that sucker in the future. We'll be right back. Well, no, we're going to stick here. Eloise is here. I'm here. Eloise, you've been elected as our 50th District Assembly person. What is this, your second time? You're running now for your third?
This is my fourth.
Your fourth
term.
Man, it seems like only a minute.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
It goes fast when you're having fun.
And I am having fun.
As a legislator, what has been your favorite piece of legislation that you've been able to deliver to our fine people here in the Inland Empire?
For me, I think the one that is the most impactful is AB 2147. This was my inmate firefighters bill. We found out that during all these wildfires, we were using many of our inmates. They'd been vetted, good behavior, just a whole list of things. And once they were vetted by the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitations, they then went to the conservation camp and participated as inmate firefighters.
Now, you say participate as inmate firefighters. A lot of people may think that that's, like standing around with a hose.
Oh, no. They put their life on,
yeah.
They put their life on the line.
They put their life on the line?
They put their life on the line, and that's why they were selected, because they would be able to act for the state of California. And as they would walk through after they'd put out the fires, along with the rest of the firefighters, the signs were up, the big banners, "You're our heroes, you're our heroes." But once they got out, with that felony conviction, they could never expect to take the exam to get their EMT license from the state of California, which was a necessity in order to become a professional firefighter. So AB 2147, I worked on that bill almost every year from the moment I got there, trying to do something that was right, to repair a wrong, to right a wrong. And finally, and I appreciate so much the work of the Professional Firefighters Association for the state of California. They worked with me on the final language. What this provides now is that if you are an inmate firefighter, you've been working on the line through the California Conservation Camp, when you leave, after you've served your sentence, you can get an expedited expungement. With that expedited expungement, you get that felony off. When you go to apply to take that test for EMT, you get to take the test, which opens the doors which had been closed up to now. Once they're opened, you take your test, you pass, and then you can apply for the jobs because you've got that EMT license.
And you've gone through an experience where you're handling chainsaws, axes, hatchets, pickaxes, weapons of mass personal destruction potentially.
That's right.
I have a friend who supervised a crew of workers, and that's my question to him whenever I talk to him. How did you, and he said, in terms of cooperation and a good, solid crew, he said those are the best people he's worked with. So not only are they qualified because they've been exposed, but they are also
That's right.
qualified because they've demonstrated that they can handle. They're not trying to escape. They're not trying to hurt people, and they're not They had to be vetted to get that job.
That's right.
So I think we have to give you an applaud for that. It aids the economy. It does wrong the right because they were wrong.
It rights
when they
the
went
wrong.
to jail. Yeah, it rights the wrong. But I won't fight that one. It rights the wrong, and we appreciate you on that one.
Thank you.
On the other hand, there's some things that you've wanted to do that have been thrown back in your face. Take this back. We don't like the way it tastes. What is the most disappointing legislature failure at this point? Or I don't know if when I say fail, maybe you're still continuing to work with those. But what are some of the biggest hills that you're trying to climb here as a legislator?
I think three come to mind. One is the bill that I had this year to collect the data. I want to know how many people actually went through the expungement process, succeeded. I get the phone calls from them. My office gets phone calls from family and from those who were able to get the expedited expungement, and I wanted to collect the data. We weren't able to because that bill was vetoed. But another one was, we're finding that a lot of if you're part of a union and another union brother and sister is on strike, you cannot sympathy strike as a public employee. Mm-hmm. And I introduced legislation that allowed you to sympathy strike. You could stand with your union brothers and sisters and not cross that picket line. That bill was vetoed. But I'll tell you the one that hurts the most. And that is, we find that there are so many warehouses here in the Inland Empire, and I have introduced legislation almost every year to try to take care of that. I'm not saying no warehouses. I'm saying let's build the warehouses further away from the people, further away from the schools, from the nursing homes, from the child care centers. Let's leave a buffer zone of 1,000 feet. That number came from the Attorney General's guidelines. That number came from the California Air Resources Board. We put that into a bill, and the pushback is unbelievable. And I'm still going to continue to fight. It's now a 2-year bill, but it's something that's very important because those warehouses are being built right next to homes and schools. But guess which communities? It's the Black and the Latino and the immigrant and the poor communities. That's where our leaders are authorizing the developers to build them. So much so that in Bloomington, unincorporated area here in San Bernardino, we have a project that was approved that surrounds the high school, the junior high, elementary school. Well, Zimmerman Elementary School, seeing that this was a possibility, the school district talked to the developer and said, we don't want this to be approved. If it is approved, we want to start negotiating with you because we're going to have to sell that elementary school. We cannot allow our children to be that close to a warehouse with all the diesel trucks coming in and out. It was approved, unfortunately, by the Board of Supervisors, and Zimmerman Elementary School had to be sold. And all those children who live nearby are now being bused to another school.
I would hope that the school district would be suing to appropriate the land. It's the same way a developer has to come in with housing and have to provide for for infrastructure in schools, I would expect warehouses should be able to be charged in that same manner with existing law. But I don't know.
I wish that were true.
There's nothing common about common sense. But
Wallace, I wish that were true, then my fight would be so much easier. Once it's approved, the Board of Supervisors, if it's unincorporated area, if the Board of Supervisors approves it, they figure out what they're going to put in that contract, in that agreement with the developer. If that isn't in the agreement, the developer doesn't have to.
You know, the thing that's so interesting, and you are an attorney, is that martial arts, legal or martial arts, says, okay, do what you're going to do, and then I'm going to do what you leave me room to do. I would expect that the reason we don't want children to be surrounded by polluting entities is because they will get sick.
Absolutely.
Okay, if that's the case, then all we're looking for is a couple of the sick kids, and we need to start documenting that and go on and get Mr. Crump and other people who are out there consistently defending people's rights and start putting some suit, not just on, now this is one of the things I'm concerned about, we hide behind our organizations though we are individuals making decisions. This is how institutional racism continues to not only live but thrive. I think we might want to, as we place people in these positions, let them know, just as the person who signs up says his corporation and he's personally responsible, that when you make these decisions, there's an echo period that you're personally responsible for. If you made the decision, you got to stand behind it. If there's a shadow and an echo, then you're part of that. But I'm not a legislator. But I know one or two or three or four, and maybe we can move in that direction.
Can I tell you?
Please.
We have those children. And when we had the bill before the committee, it was the mother of those children that went up there to testify about their children having asthma, about the fact that she had to take time off from work, about the fact that their children had to take time out of school. We had the Lung Association come up to testify saying, you should not be building the warehouses that close to those sensitive receptors, those homes, those schools. Did I get my votes that I needed? No.
You weren't in court.
That's right. I would have won in court. I would have won in court.
You're
point. Right.
That's my point. That's my point. We've got people pretending to be judges and have no idea of what impact their judgment is going to have. They're only thinking about, oh, I want to stay elected, or oh, I've got somebody going to give me some money if I get this across. And we need to be able to. This is why this is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. We're supposed to take a break, but we're not going to do it. Thank you, Eric. God bless you. We're in a charged West Side Story for that one. Okay. We've got to get past this fake stuff. You know, we've got this. We've got the ability now. They've got the ability, but we've got it too. We being the good guys, they being the bad guys. Whenever you ask me who they are, it's always the bad guy. The good guys, that's us. And that's unfortunately the way they feel too. That's why we have to talk to each other. We have to really know, why is it that...
Absolutely.
Why is it that you want to put the warehouse in this school area next to these minority people who really don't have the money to move anywhere else? Why do you want to do that? Okay, it's about making some money. Okay, but if it's just about making money, why don't we put them downtown with your retail stuff? Oh, because it's inconvenient for the retail. But it's inconvenient for the retail, but it doesn't matter that it's inconvenient for the people who voted your ass in here, who voted you in. And you're bringing these things up and putting them in front of people might make people register to vote, might make them actually get out and vote to their benefit. But somehow we've got this over-identification with the kidnapper, this syndrome where we just say, well, anyway, this is for your interview, not mine.
Oh, I like your words. I'm telling you, I'm liking your words.
My audience, they hear this crap from me all the time, but they need to hear something from you. As we look down the line here and talk about the issue that's behind why people are living in the places where the warehouse people normally would put warehouses if they were out in the desert somewhere, and that's close to a freeway where they could do a drop-off. But because we've zoned housing for poor people to be next to the freeway, next to the train tracks, next to the pollution, refers to our housing problem. It refers to our homeless problem. We've got situations where people are converting things into living spaces that, could you really live there if you hadn't been homeless before, and now so long without that you just would appreciate anything? Homelessness, housing, what do we do about that? What do you see as a solution for getting houses built, getting the money to get them built, getting the financing so that we're not, at what point does government serve as a buffer to capitalism?
I think it's such an important question, something that we have been dealing with. And again, you have arguments on something that we shouldn't be arguing about. We have homeless people. We are responsible. If we are the leaders, we're the elected leaders, we are responsible to make sure we're taking care of all of our constituents. Some of those are homeless. Some of those are our brothers and sisters. Certainly they are our neighbors. And I think that trying to find ways to build more homes, to build more units is extremely important. I'm really proud of this last year, and the governor just signed a whole lot of bills that are going to help to streamline the building of these affordable housing. For the rest of it, we can go through the whole process. But for affordable housing, those are the ones that are needed the most. We need to find a way to get that housing done. So trying to do the streamlining for the affordable housing is very important. There was also a bill that will allow religious institutions and nonprofits to build units on their property, streamline those. I'm very proud of that bill as well. We also just voted for a bond, $6.8 billion. The voters get to vote on it. But this is not only for housing, and it's going to be very specifically a carve-out for our veterans, a carve-out for our youth, for the homeless. And not only that, but it's the wraparound services. Because putting a roof over somebody's head is extremely important. But making sure they have the services they need. If the studies that are coming out now show that the majority of those who are homeless do have, like many others who are housed, but many of them do have mental health issues.
Yeah,
we've got to deal with that.
Classifications with homeless people that probably need to be squared away, because some homeless people are working, some homeless people are not working, some homeless people have, like you say, mental issues, some homeless people don't want a structure. And I suppose if everybody was able to get what they want, we'd be okay, because if you're a camper, you know how to camp without impacting things. But if you're homeless as a camper that never knew how to camp, that turns it into something else. But then we have our social responsibility, and all of us know that housing costs money. How do we get the money? Now, we grow up in America under this shadow of some guy in Virginia saying, if you don't work, you don't eat. But he was the one who determined what work was. And anyway.
But we both know that there are people who work that
Who
still can't afford to
Right.
put a roof over their
Right.
head or over the head of their children. And they're working with 1, 2 jobs, still have to request assistance from the government.
Well, we have two entities. We have the individuals, and then we have the institutions. Because of the COVID, we found out that doing something to the individual that we don't normally do actually helps the institution flow. And that was when we started giving money, providing income to people. Guaranteed income is a concept that brings out the best and the worst in us. The worst being you don't work, you don't eat. How am I to just give you free money? But then what did I say to Chrysler? What do I say to big business? What do I say to the banks? When I say I can't give you free money and I give them free money, and I turn around to the individual who needs not really some free money, he just needs a little boost. I mean, truly a little boost. Micro, mini loans, things of that sort. So we had the guarantee income. During the COVID, we gave people money, and sure enough, just as the old adage says, you give a poor person money and they give it right back. And that's what happened. Gave it money right back into the economy, had some of the best economic news during that period of time as possible. At a period of time when small business was supposed to be falling off the cliff, they were surviving, in some cases thriving. and we look and see that didn't hurt the government. Every penny that we want to give to Ukraine and every penny that we want to give to Israel now will just show up. But to show up and keep America strong seems to be a problem. We've had studies that come along, data that follows these people who are getting guaranteed money, and it goes back into the economy, but something also changes in their lives. They tend to be able to now get a job or now be able to pay off enough bills to get themselves on balance, but their lives change to the positive.
Yes.
What do you think about that? I should have let you say all of that part.
No, but I think you make some really good points, and I think this guaranteed income, when it was first talked about, it was like, what? This is socialism.
Yeah,
this
like
is
socialism is, you know, all of our big allies in Europe are socialists. We don't turn our nose down to them. As a matter of fact, we spend all the money in the world sending people there, going there, and letting them come to the United States anytime they want to as immigrants.
But you know, you made a point though, because it really has to do with capitalism. Because the more a person receives, the more they'll be able to spend. The more they spend, the more that business thrives. And if we're taking care of the very people who need the most help at that moment, then we're doing the right thing. We're taking care of our constituents. We're taking care of the people that live in California, in San Bernardino County. That's what's important. We don't need to see people fall and tell them they've fallen, they're going to stay there till they do something to pick themselves up. If we have the ability to help lift them up, they'll soon be on their own. They don't need us forever. But to say to someone who has fallen, you're going to be down there till you get yourself up. Many of us had opportunities that we didn't deserve.
Yeah,
we were blessed beyond comparison.
Here's the bootstrap. Find the boot.
That's right. And what if they don't have a boot to
strap?
strap?
They don't. That's
right.
Find the boot to make this thing work.
That's right.
Well, giving people money is something that we just don't grow up thinking about doing. So, how do we justify putting $2,000-$3,000 a month in someone's hands and still be, the safeguard for them to fall back? Well, I would say this. I would say that if I gave you X amount, I would say where specifically 2/3 of it should go. It should go to pay for your housing. It should go pay for your medical. It should go pay for some of the things that we would socially pay for anyway. That other third, I would like for you to go spend it any way you want to. I just want to know where you spend it. Why? So I could collect the data. That'll help justify you being a mystery shopper or whatever to help our economy understand what people really want to buy. We do that all the time. That's a little arrow in your quiver.
All right. Well, you've studied this a whole lot more than I have.
Well, I'm probably a little poorer than you are. That's because
no.
You got my friend Frank over there working hard every day. So we're going to take this short break, and when we come back, we're going to close out with a couple of more things here. I think we'd like to continue up a little bit more on housing and what we might be able to do to encourage the cities to be as expansive in thought about housing as the state and the counties are. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. We'll be right back after this short break, and we're going to solve at least one or two of these problems in the world in the next 10 minutes. Don't miss it.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
Join the Riverside County Black Chamber of Commerce. Enjoy the benefits of membership designed to support and accelerate your business. Make valuable contacts with other professionals, expand your resources and your customers. Update your learning experience via the Chamber's low and no-cost seminars and workshops. Improve your social media impact. The Chamber is dedicated to supporting your unique business needs. Take your first steps to the next level. Join the Riverside County Black Chamber of Commerce. Call 951-823-0175. That's 951-823-0175. I'm Peppy Jackson, the president of the Riverside County Black Chamber of Commerce. You have my personal invitation.
This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. We are today speaking with Assemblymember Eloise Gomez Reyes. She used to be in charge there as the majority leader. She is now the majority leader emeritus, giving us time to speak with us a little more often, and we're going to ask her to do that. Assemblymember, the state of California issued out $100 million last year to fight hate crimes, hate incidents. This was a very powerful addition to the arena of fighting hate. Not just fighting hate crimes, not waiting until you totally, but hate incidents. How do you feel about that? I see that you voted for it. How is it working? Are we getting the data on it working? Are we going to keep that up? What is the general idea of anti-hate? Does it actually say that we should now start to move toward each other and interact and love each other? Or is it just stop hating? Or is it more stop hating, let's engage, let's do things to show not only appreciation for each other, but revealing the resources in each other? That's the first time I said that. How'd you like that?
I think it's all of that, and I appreciate that. I know we're recording this, and I'm going to be listening to it again. I'm going to use those words.
Inspired me.
That's right.
Inspired.
So you're right. This year, the legislature approved nearly $100 million to provide community-based organizations that support victims of hate crimes. In fact, because of all of the anti-API, all this hatred against our API brothers and sisters, because of COVID. It started because of COVID, saying, oh, they're the ones that brought COVID here. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing, and I don't know how it enters people's brains,
well,
but
it was delivered by President Trump at the time.
There you go.
Believe the president. I mean, if you can't believe the president, who can you believe?
That's right. It starts somewhere.
Oh, man. Did I say that? I didn't even...
You said it.
Okay.
You said it. I agreed with it, but anyway. That's where it started, and in fact, my colleagues were able to get funding specifically for the anti or the hate crimes against our API brothers and sisters, and there is a center in San Francisco that was opened up as a result of all of this. I think everything that you just said is absolutely accurate. We need to be able to continue to work with our local community members, local community groups. We need to ensure that we bridge communication and that we fight hate right here at home. And once we fight it here at home, it means that dialogue. It means recognizing that when you wake up in the morning, you have no idea the struggles the other person has gone through. When we start looking at people because of the color of their skin, the hue of their skin, or because of any other facial
zip code,
the zip code, or the accent with which they speak, or how they dress, if we start looking at that and judging people by that, our society, the value of our society just goes down.
Or change the attitude of the judgment. Change it into curiosity, not judgment. You know, what did you eat for breakfast? Did you eat the same thing I did? What did it taste like? Wow. What kind of stories did your grandmother tell you?
Yes.
You know, why do you like to shop where you shop? What do you think is a good deal on? Engagement expands our resource.
It starts with the children,
well,
right?
the thing I think it starts with is our marketing, our branding, our insistence that you come to me. You know, if you just come to me, don't ask anybody, come to me. We've got to take a little bit more charge. I'm not one for censorship. I am one for guidance and themery. We have so much that we can do. Someone could take this whole interview and take the pictures of who we are and put totally different words in our mouth and make it sound and look exactly like we said them. That's cute. And it could be economically feasible for somebody, but is it ethical? And more importantly, is it going to lead into misinformation? Is it going to lead to mischief and chaos? Is it going to lead to improvement? Once again, I can go to almost any argument, and everybody on either side can justify where they're coming from. And whoever wins is usually able to write a good history book to prove that they were right in doing what they do.
And they say the people in power are the ones who determine the history books that our children are going to read. So very important when you're talking about writing those history books. It's so important that we also elect really important, good leaders, solid leaders at the school board level, because they are the ones who are going to decide what the children are going to read, right? I'm so glad that we passed the legislation authored by my good friend, Assemblymember Dr. Corey Jackson, not too far from here, against banning books. Our children need to be able to read the books that tell the history. It may be hard to read depending on the age, so let's do it age appropriate. But the children need to know our history, even if it looks like they may see it and say, boy, this is absolute racism. That's good that they caught that. And somebody may not want them to catch that. Our children are smart, and they need to be able to taught all of those things.
One of the things about them banning books is that for the kids who really like to read, they just created a book list.
Yes.
But it's the ones who are struggling to like to read, the ones who are being so magnetized by the screens that we have to worry about. And again, I think the banning of books does more to describe the people who are banning the book than it is going to be to reduce the availability of the books to those who want them. That's one of the intellectual levels that I'm sorry or I'm glad they are not able to control. However, there is so much misinformation available that I think the other element that we have to teach people to fight that off isn't censorship, it's critical thinking. We have to show people that critical thinking is their solution for misinformation, but they've got to be able to layer that and understand that. And you sitting in a room full of who are supposed to be some of the smartest people in California realize that folks can slip through the cracks.
Without
a
doubt.
Thank you so much for sharing with us today. Continued good favor in what you're doing, and continue to surround yourself with good people, kings, queens, princesses, and all that stuff. God bless you. Thank you for being with us. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. I want to thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next week under two circumstances. One, if the good Lord's willing. Two, if the creek don't rise. God bless you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
KCAA Loma Linda. The Legacy KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM.
The information and opinions you hear on the Del Walmsley Radio Show are those of the host, Del Walmsley, his guests, and his callers, and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this station, its affiliates, its management, or advertisers. The Del Walmsley Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Del Walmsley Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.
Portions of the show may be previously recorded. Welcome to the Del Walmsley Radio Show. Listen and grow as Del questions the status quo, encourages you to think differently, and empowers you to make a better life. Get ready as Del challenges core beliefs, seeks the truth, and reveals the roadmap to the lifestyle you really want. And now your host, multi-millionaire, national award-winning investor, CEO and founder of Lifestyles Unlimited, Del Walmsley.
Welcome to Del Walmsley Radio Show, where the hype ends and the help begins. I'm your host, Del Walmsley, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. Today, my friends, we're going to hit the mailbag, and I'm going to start with an email that talks about what I would suggest is one of the most difficult things that I've met in 30 years for people to let go of, and that is the concept of the 401k. And, you know, there's a collective hypnosis that goes on in this country, probably all over the world, I guess. In every socialist country, they believe socialism. In every, democratic country, they try to go to socialism, but they stick to, democracies, and they stick to, business models that are different than socialism. But the bottom line is that people want to know that there is a safety net out there. And they want to know that somehow if they just do the mundane things that the government tells them to do, that they're going to be all right. And the government is going to take care of everything else. Well, for years, that role was provided by your boss, the employment. And the way employers would get you to stay and work there your whole life and commit your knowledge base to that company was to create a pension, a long-term retirement program. Now, the private side figured out very quickly that the more and more and more that the employees push for a better and larger amount of the pie to be put into their retirement programs, that very quickly it became obvious that they could not fund these. And companies started going out of business. Large companies started going broke. I remember when I was dating a young lady once whose sister was married to the son of Dell Computer. And Chrysler Motors, He worked for Dell Computer. His father was like one of the upper-ups in Chrysler Motors. And they were going broke. They could not fund the pension plan. And so they just went bankrupt, and the government bailed them out. But the government found out very quickly that this was going to happen in every country or in every company out there. And so they came up with this concept. We better start selling people on a new concept that pensions don't work or they're not going to be there. And so you better start saving your own money into something called a 401k. Now, there are various versions of this out there. Private sector has one, public sector has another. But the bottom line is you better save enough money for you to retire on. And to make you more interested in doing that, we're going to do a couple things. One, we're going to set it up where we take the money right out of your paycheck. And two, in many cases, we're going to match some portion of that money that you save so that you'll get there quicker. In addition to that, we're going to make this very, very interesting by telling you that you don't pay taxes on that money that you're saving right now, which in essence should give you this benefit. If you would normally have, let's say, $20,000 or $10,000, do easy round numbers, $10,000 a year to save. But if you had to pay your income taxes on that money, now, by the way, you still pay your Social Security and Medicare taxes on this money, but your income taxes on that money, that $10,000 you were going to save, you really only could save $6,000, $7,000. So by putting it in his 401k, you're going to have a $10,000 amount saved instead of a $6,000 or $7,000 amount saved. And because of that, if you compound that over 30 years or 40 years of your work environment, your lifetime's work process, you should end up with $1 million more or $4 million more. I mean, I've seen them run the numbers, and you can get out there and run numbers all day long. I will suggest the first thing that I learned when I started becoming wealthy was that you don't look at long-term numbers. You look at what you can do with your money this year and what you can do with it over the next 2 years and 3 at the longest. But you don't worry about what your money's going to do 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, because number one, you may not have that money. You might have lost it already. Number two, the whole set of rules that you play under could be gone, right? Number three, inflation could eat it up just as fast as you could produce it. So all this thinking about the future stuff, although it sounds very good, especially to conservative people about, if I just save enough money, put enough aside, then I'm going to get there. But if you're saving 3 or 4%, right, whatever that amount is, it doesn't matter. But if inflation, and it's earning nothing, it's sitting in your 401k and IRA and earning nothing. And this is part of the argument I'm going to have to make with you today, is that it isn't earning anything. It's earning you nothing. And inflation is eating away at that money. Right now, inflation is somewhere around 4.5%. It's been up to 9% in the last couple of months, last year or so. And inflation is eating away at that money at 4 to 9%. You're actually losing money. You're not making money. You're losing money. So today, and I had to take a day where I was willing to waste the whole day away. I had to take and set aside this day because I got asked this question about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And I said, I just got to have enough time to be able to attack this thing because there's so many problems with the concept of the 401k that I'm going to go ahead and approach it today. Now, I'm going to read the gentleman's email because in his email with his questions, the answer to his questions are embedded in the email. And that's what's funny about it. In other words, what I'm saying to you is most of you know that you're being lied to about the 401k. I would suggest a very large percentage of you know the 401k is a lie, that it doesn't really work the way they say it will work, and it will not produce a retirement for you. And if it does, it's a minuscule one that you have to wait until you're 65, 75 years of age to use. It's just not effective comparatively. When I started buying rental houses, that's all I did was buy rental houses. Within the first 2.5 years of buying rental houses, I was making enough cash flow to replace my earned income. So I retired. But to this day, your 401k doesn't pay you a dime. It's like the other lie they tell you. The best thing you'll ever have is a paid in full home. And your paid in full home, which is the largest asset, in fact, these are the two largest assets that most people have, a 401k and a paid in full home or a highly paid down home. Neither one of those are paying you any money. There's no cash flow coming from those. And what I have to get across to you today, and this is the number one point I'm going to make to start with in this discussion, is retirement does not occur until earned income is replaced by passive income. And that doesn't mean having a pile of money to live off of, because you could start out with a pile of money, and if you're using up $100,000 a year, that pile of money is gone in 1, 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years. Even if you had $1 million, you're only going to last 10 years. So a pile of money doesn't work. What you have to be able to retire, this is the number one point, is you have to have passive streams of income that equal or exceed the earned income streams that you're living on right now. And until you can replace those earned income streams with passive streams of income, you can't retire. And so hence, the paid in full home and the 401k, the American dream, are completely useless to you. They don't work, they never have, and they never will. Because of the very premise behind what's in there. Now, I'm going to cover a lot of other points. After we come back from break, I'm going to read this gentleman's email. And within the email itself is going to be the answers to the questions that we're posing here today. Should I be in my 401k? And after I think we read this email and we go through a few logical steps mentally, we're going to come out the other side realizing that about 90% of the people that ever join up to Lifestyles end up getting rid of their 401k. I think you'll see why. We'll take a short break. You want to come back. You need to hear this. We'll be right back with the Del Walmsley Radio Show.
You're hearing the Del Walmsley Radio Show. Got questions? Email Del at askdel@luinc.com. That's askdel@luinc.com. More life-changing wisdom when Del returns in moments.
I created these case studies 30 years ago for this reason. You're the accountant. You're the CPA. You're the engineer, the IT guy. Do you follow what I'm saying? You're that little quiet cubicle guy. And you don't see yourself as a rich millionaire. So I have to bring the cubicle people up here. And you go, honey, look, he's got the same shoes I have on, right? And he speaks in the same language that I speak in. And you've got to be able to see somebody you can relate to or relate with for this to work. Part of the reason I want you to speak to other people is because half of your, I'd say, challenge is that you don't believe you can be rich, is that you don't believe you can retire within 5 years. Until you can reconcile that in your mind, you won't be willing to take the steps necessary to get there.
Join us today. Check for in-person and online dates at lukstudy.com.
You allowed 15,000 members into your sandbox.
Thank you.
And so that speaks volumes. So for that, and as a family.
So you know why I did that? Everybody always asks, why did you do this? Because I was an ugly kid. My parents used to have to put a pork chop around my neck so the dog would play with me. And so I always wanted to have friends, and I figured if I could make people rich, they might be my friend.
Join Del and his successful friends. Start with a free online workshop. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
So when I say be ready, number one, to get ready, you better join up Lifestyles Unlimited and learn all these things we're talking about. You're out there piddling and, internet information and your buddy's information or your dad's information. It's not going to get you the results that we're talking about. You're going to have to be educated in what we're doing.
Learn from the people that are already where you want to be. Join us for the free online workshop at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
I'm Jeff Davis with Just a Thought. As people are getting more educated about electric cars, there is less enthusiasm for them. For many, it's a scam that appears to be another way to make money off the backs of the American people as the installed president and governors, such as California's Gavin Newsom, force people to buy them. In recent years, the government has devolved into a kind of dictatorship to force people to do as they demand. Fewer choices mean more government. But digging deeper, how much kickback will the big guy and his friends get? With the scam is the belief that the manufacturing of the batteries creates even more pollution and disruption of the environment. There's modern-day slavery in Africa at Chinese-run mines as they pull the elements out of the ground. Our government knows it. The manufacturers who make these vehicles know it, and they both push us to buy these products. With our money, we support slavery. Most of the American people are blind to this. It's an oddity that there's a hatred of blood diamonds, and Krugerrand gold was once forbidden because of apartheid. But cars with blood batteries, well, that gets a pass. Just a thought. I'm Jeff Davis.
Start your real estate immersion with the free workshop live online at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Remember this, sellers, motivated sellers are found, but deals are made.
A reminder from Del Walmsley, CEO of Lifestyles Unlimited. Learn how to find those motivated sellers and get the deals done. Join our free online workshop and learn how to retire in 5 years or less at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com. lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
I don't know which one bums you out more, the little wheel, you get in the little wheel and run, or the cubicle. Go to your prison cubicle. Think about being in prison every day. What do? You get up every day and stand in your cubicle. Maybe sit in your cubicle. What do you do when you go to work every day? go to the cubicle. Whew. I couldn't put up with it when I was there. Had to get out.
Ready to get out too? Learn how at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
KCAA.
Retiring America, one person at a time. This is the Del Walmsley Radio Show. Now, more unconventional wisdom from your host, Del Walmsley.
Welcome back to the Del Walmsley Radio Show. Today we're in the mailbag, and we're starting with an email from Robert. And Robert, I'm sorry it took me a week to get to this, but I needed a larger amount of time, and I had to squeeze it in. I couldn't put it in there in the other shows that were full. So we start this, email starts and says, I've been a member for about 3 years now. I'm 39 years old. I currently have 6 single-family homes. 4 are rented and cash flowing on an average of $300 a month. So that's $1,200 a month this guy's got coming in. I start, and I'm just going to hit you with this email. That's all I'm going to do. Do you have $1,200 a month coming in right now? Think about what $1,200 a month every month means to you, right? I started out with the same kind of thing. I worked my way up. I worked up to $3,000 a month, then $6,000 a month, then $10,000 a month, and on and on and on and on and on, ad nausea. You don't care what I make. But the bottom line is I make what I make because I just kept building on and on and on and on for 34 years now. And this guy's got $1,200 a month coming in. You don't. Your 401k is paying you $0 every month. Your paid in full home is paying you $0 every month. So we move on here. He said, one of them is selling this week and will yield me 123% return on my initial investment, not including the cash flow. And one in its last 2 weeks of rehab will allow me to cash flow another $300 a month and will capture $11,500 in equity on top of my $25,000 investment. So this guy puts in $25,000. He makes an immediate $11,500 and another $300 a month positive cash flow, which is 3 times 10 is $3,012, $3,600 a year on $25,000. So turn that is just go to the trusty slow calculator here, and let's see here. We got 300 times 12, 3,600 divided by 25,000. And that's another 14.4%. So is your 401k paying you 14% cash flow every month? Well, the answer is your 401k is paying you $0. And this is the first thing you need to understand. You cannot retire until you've got a cash flow. What you do in your 401k does not produce cash flow, right? So this guy's going to add another $300 a month to his cash flow, and he's going to pick up $11,500 of instant equity. Now, here's the other point. $11,500 on $25,000 investments, 40-some-odd% return. Is your 401k earning you capital gains of 40%? And the answer is, I'm sure, no. You're not making it. Even within the 401k, you're not making it like these guys are making it, which is money. You're not making cash flow. You're not making capital gains, right? Now, he goes on and says, I say all that because your educational program teaches what your educational program teaches works, and I'm following. Now he goes into his question. But my question, 401k question is, I have put in 5% for the last 18 years because my employer matches my 5% with a 4%. I no longer believe the lie that this is a good investment and plan to liquidate once I'm able to replace my income and quit my job. So there it is. He's already come to the conclusion now that he's making good money doing what he's doing, that the old lie of putting money in just because he's matching at 4%. So let's think about this. He's getting matched at 4%, but it's taxable income. Our income is not taxable. We say, well, Del, it is. It isn't taxable. It's inside the 401k. Oh, no. Forget that. The money you're getting from your boss that you're being matched is paying Social Security and Medicare on that. We're not paying Social Security and Medicare. And if you ever wanted to use the money, you'd have to take it out and pay taxes on it. We've got the money, and we haven't paid taxes on it. We're earning tax-deferred income that we defer for the rest of our lives if we do it correctly. So here we go. That 4% is nothing compared to, what did he say, a 14%? Would you rather have a 4% or a 14% cash flow? Would you rather have a 4% instant equity gain because of your match from your boss, or a 40% instant equity gain because of the match from the real estate market? It's not even close, guys. And he sees it. He understands it. And that's why he's saying this. I'm confused. Now, I've asked myself questions like this before in the past also. I've asked, in fact, every once in a while I'll call up some of my staff and go, do me a favor. Help me figure out why my brain's trying to take me to do something I know is absolutely ridiculously dumb. And I know it's dumb, and I shouldn't do it, and yet I'm trying to do it. It's just greed and laziness. This situation mostly is laziness. People just stick money in there thinking, and greed, well, I don't know how to make money. I don't know how to earn any money. And since I don't know how to earn any money, if my boss matches 4%, that's 4% I'd never see. That's what they're thinking. And the guy goes on and says, if I stopped putting the 5% in, it would equal about $90 a week after income taxes, or give or take. Do you think that short term it would continue to put the 5% in just to get the 4% that will beneficially pay my taxes at 10% penalty once I pull the money out? Whoa! Think about this. You put 4% in there, right? So you start with, he said $90 a week, whatever that comes out to. Let's think about that for a second. $100 a week for 52 weeks, you got $5,000. So you put $5,000 in this thing, and that's after taxes. So I don't know what you would have earned to make that $5,000. But in essence, remember this: you don't have any more money than what you have. So for them to tell you you made money and you take it out, and I know tons of people that don't want to take money out of their 401k simply because they got to pay taxes. Then they realize that what they think they have in there, it's only about 60% of the dollar amount they think they have in there. Because you don't realize the government owns 40% of it. They just haven't taken the income taxes on it yet. And they've got the control to do that. If you take it out, they're going to take the money, right? So you take this $5,000 a year out, and you take $5,000 a year, and you multiply that times 140%, and now you get $7,000, and then times 140%, and you've got $10,000, $9,800, and you do that for 30 or 40 years, and where are you at? I guarantee you, in no time at all, you're $1 million. It's just the compound interest effect. But the compound interest effect on 4% is not that great. Compound interest effect on 40% is massive. And there again, there's a problem. And then people say, well, Del, I can buy stuff inside of my 401k and invest. Go, well, if you do, what are the benefits? Let's talk for a second. Let's say I need $25,000, and I take out $30,000 or $40,000 out of my 401k or my IRA, and I pay the taxes, and I end up with $25,000. That $25,000 just made me $11,500 instantly. So I have just made back everything I paid in taxes. Now, why wouldn't I do that? When we come back, we'll talk about why, and also what you should be doing. We'll be right back with the Del Walmsley Radio Show.
Teaching you with a roadmap to creating the lifestyle you really want. Keep listening. The Del Walmsley Radio Show returns in moments.
What does Del Walmsley, CEO and founder of Lifestyles Unlimited, think you need to succeed in this market?
It's time to buy, and so you better get prepared, you better get educated, you better get your money right. You need to get involved because you're going to need the financing. You're going to need the vendors that we have available to us. You're just going to need the interaction with people. You need to Immerse yourself into real estate.
Start your real estate immersion with the free workshop live online at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Your challenge is that you don't believe you can be rich, is that you don't believe you can retire within 5 years. That's half of your challenge. And until you can come up with that belief system, until you can reconcile that in your mind, you won't be willing to take the steps necessary to get there. So you need to get in here and meet some people.
Join us for the next free workshop and meet the people at Lifestyles Unlimited that will share Del Walmsley's belief system and empower you to take the steps you need to be successful. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
I was at a seminar one time and a guy was sitting up there and he was saying, what you really need is you need the young, aggressive entrepreneur people to go out there and take that money and invest it with them. I walked up to the front of the stage and I said, hey, I'm that guy you're